Okay.
This call is now being recorded.
Okay. Good evening once again. So um SQL is just another database. Sorry, let me just log in so we can actually see what SQL looks like. Um, um, okay. So I believe you can all see my screen, right? So so SQL can be pronounced as SQL or it can also be pronounced as SQL. So both pronunciation are correct. So whichever one you want to call it, it is correct. So the full meaning of SQL is structured query language. So it is just the language to interact with the database using a query. So what is this database? Database is an organized collection of data stored. So a lot of us are actually work with a database because database is actually a table that is a table that contains rows and columns. So when we have something like that, that's what we call database. So you've seen it in Excel, you've seen a rows and what a row looks like and what a column looks like. So why do we now use this database and why are we using SQL to query this database? So SQL majorly works with cloud. I don't know if I should call it a cloud, but this database, these particular tables, they are not stored in on my computer. You know, when I'm done with an Excel file, I will be able to see it. Sorry, let me save this thing. Okay, so sorry. So when I'm um when I'm done with an Excel file, I'll be able to save it on my computer. Then I can interact with it safely on my computer. But a database is something that it is in cloud. That is when you say something is in cloud, it's just like Drive, your Drive memory, your iCloud, on your phone. Majorly, the file are not being saved on your phone, but saving somewhere else. So that's why when you to access those files, you have to query them using SQL language, right? So why do we now need to store this particular data on the cloud? So trillions of data can be stored there. So another limitation of Excel is that Excel can only contain 1,400,000 plus rows, right? So this these rows are limited. They even though 1,400,000 rows look like a huge amount, each number, right? But still, when you work in a particular multinational company, that particular rows is too small to store their data. Now imagine you are working with GT Bank. GT Bank has over 100 branches across the country. Now in a minute, they have almost a million transactions going on in all their branch. So now imagine you are storing all your data in Excel. It doesn't even make sense because it will not be able to store everything. So that's why they decided to store it in the cloud. So trillions of data can be stored because there is no limitation to data that can be stored in the cloud. Also security issue. So now let's say I can easily just log into your computer, access your Excel file, then I will be able to see whatever the company is up to. I can manipulate or steal any money. But if it is in the cloud, before you gain access, you have to go through many security checks, right? So that's why it's increased your security also. So also better decision making. So another thing is if I'm working with an Excel file, right? So I'm the only one that can access the file. But if it is an SQL file, the data is being stored in the cloud. So let's say I have a multinational company and I have different team in that particular company. So we have the data team, we have the engineering team, we have the HR team. So all of them can access the data at the same time. They can update it in real time, and it will actually, because the data is stored in just one place, everyone can access it. So it will make better decision making, because a lot of teams are working on it. You understand? So also we have each info is readily available, just that I told us that information are easily accessible. So now this database, we have different type of database management system. So we call them DPMS for short. So database management system is just a software which is used to manage this database, right? So we have different type of database management system. That's DPMS. We have MySQL. That's my SQL. You can call it SQL, you can call it SQL, whichever one you are correct. So we have the MySQL, we have the Postgres SQL, we have the SQL Server, that's SQL Server, we have Oracle, we have BigQuery. We have quite a number of them. You know, so what DBMS can do, they can create a table. That's just whenever you see a database, it's just like a big English. So they can create a table, they can manipulate the table. That is, they can you can do data exploratory, you can store and receive data, and as I told you, then you can delete data there. So yeah, basically we have two type of databases. We have the relational database and relational SQL and non-relational SQL. So we call the relational SQL SQL, normal SQL. Then the non-relational SQL has no SQL, that's no SQL. So this relational SQL is just the conventional way of database, that is the rows and the rows and column, the way we store our data sets in rows and column. So that's what we call relational database. But non-relational database. Now imagine you have, or you published, and don't let me say publish, you you release a movie, right? You release a movie on all platform. Obviously, you release it on uh, Instagram and Facebook. So you want to scrape the information gotten from received by and gotten from the people interested in that movie. So you want to know if it is a positive comment or if it is a negative comment. So when you scrape all their comments, will not be in rows and columns, right? It will be in what will it be in? It will not be in rows and column. It will be in other. So it won't be in rows and column, it will just be a comment. So you have to be the one that will put it in rows and column, and that's why we call them non-relational SQL. So yeah, that's all about SQL. Now before we move on, we actually need to discuss about the data type, because that's actually a big thing in SQL. So now let's just do window D. So the SQL that we'll be working with is what my SQL. So I'll just walk you through how to download my SQL right now. So now the first thing you need to do is what? Just click on, just go to any browser of your choice. So in this case, I'm using Microsoft Edge, but you can use Google Chrome, you can use Explorer. It depends on whatever you like. So I'm using Microsoft Edge. So you can just go there, just press anyone. You can use this one. They started from hello. Right now. Now only now group now is stop. Who is there? Do you want to say something? Hello, do you want to say something? Amaro. You can't see my screen, but I can see it here. I can see my screen here. Who else can see my screen? Please, if you can see my screen, can you reply with an emoji? Okay, thank you so much. So they say my skin is showing. So you can just go to any browser of your choice. Just click on, just search MySQL. So just search MySQL. It's about convocation. So just click enter. It is same stuff. So you can see this one is just a promotional this is a promotional link here. So you want to go to the official one. This is www.mysql.com. You don't want to click this one. So it is loading. So when you, this will be the landing page. The first thing is you want to download MySQL. You just go to the download here. So when you go to the download, you scroll down. Then
I'm sorry for cutting you off, sir. Sir, I cannot see your screen. Oh.
Maybe you should leave the meeting and join back again.
yeah, hello. Please, if you can see my screen, can you unmute your mic and just tell me you can see my screen so I will know it's your network.
I can see your screen,
Hello.
sir.
Okay. I guess it is our network then. Okay, I think she has joined again. Um, can you see my screen now? Hello, can you see my screen? Okay. Okay, thank you. Then.
Wrong, it's still loading. Can't see anything here.
Probably you may want to change your location. Maybe just move out a little bit,
I do play keyboard.
because I can
Sorry.
actually I'm trying to you can see it here. If you can see my screen, you can see I'm seeing a simulation of my screen here. So it is actually showing. So I think I don't
The
have a
problem, I think the
network
problem is
problem.
from my side.
Okay. Hmm.
Ganza.
Okay, so when you click on the download, right, you just scroll down. So you see something like my SQL community download. So you just click on this one. So you can see because I'm using a Windows system, right? So you just click on my SQL installer for Windows. So you can see uh, we have different version of SQL version. So you have the 5.7.44, we have 8.7.44. So obviously you want to pick the latest version of SQL. So you can see I'm also using a Windows system. So if you are not using Windows system, you can select different operating system. But in this case, I'm using a Windows system, so I'll just click on. So we have two types of SQL you can download. We have the one with 2 MB and we have the one with 5.8 MB. So obviously you want to pick this one because that looks like a lot is going on in that one. So you want to click on this download 552 MB. So you can see something like this. So just say no thanks, just start my download. When it start downloading, can you see 558 MB? So I'll just pause that one and cancel it because I have this installed already. So I will send a link immediately after we are done with this particular class how to install how to go with the installation setting. So we don't need to stop. Okay, I guess we can move on. So now let me just launch my SQL workbench. Okay, yeah, raising your hand. Okay, I can hear your question. Hello, someone is raising his hand.
Can you hear me?
Alaikum salam, yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. Is the same like same process for I'll be trying to so
Okay, I can't hear you. Is it the same process for what?
for Power BI. Also download Power BI too because I'm
Okay, Power BI also. I will send you the link to guide us how to download that. Also. Just imagine me immediately after the call. Is that fine? Who gonna get them? Is that fine? Yeah, yeah. Don't let it out of the com- Don't go back. Okay, yeah. Let me just launch it.
for class that
So you just click on local instance.
wow. I don't believe this thing. This is happening.
Okay, because I've actually worked with this one. So the first thing is, let's just look at it. So we have something here. We call it the schemas. We call this one the schemas. The right hand and the left hand side here, we call it the schemas. Also, this row here, you can see our column header. We all know what columns header, right? So we can see our columns header here. So this is what we call our query. This place is our query, right? This is where we write our code. So you can see they look intimidating right now, but obviously they are English words. You can see something like keyword, you can see something like wait table, use table. So I'll just explain using this particular thing I've written here. So we also have one thing here. I can just increase this place. We call the output section. So this output section, this is where we actually know if we're actually writing the right thing or if we're writing the wrong code. So if it is the right code, you will see something like, okay, it is running and it is running right. And if it is if you write a wrong code, you will see something like an error. You will see some error or you will see an error message here, right? So now okay, you can also have something. So collapse. So if you don't want this, you can also click this one. So you can only see the query here. But if you want the output, you can just click on this one, click on this one to get the schema stuff. So everything is still there. It looks so simple. So now let's just start so as I was saying the other time that we have different database for SQL, right? So I will start with inline 60 because I have codes written in the upper part of the other part of the SQL part, SQL query. So the first thing is we have to know the data is, and who can tell me what so we have text. We know we have text data type and we have what we have numerical data type. We have numerical data type. We have text data type and numerical data type. So in SQL, we actually don't say text data type. It is quite different. So in this particular case, for text, right? For text, we call it variable. So we call it the full meaning of baka is what? Is variable character. Oh, so sorry about that. Yeah, it's better now. So for text data type, we have baka. We call it baka. So the full meaning of baka is what variable character, right? So this variable character is just like, let's say I have something like sheep here. What's the number? How many character do you have here? How many variable character do you have here? You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the variable character here is what 6. So if I have something like Shola here, what's variable character? That's 4, right? So basically that's what baka means. So we have numerical data type. In numerical data type, it is split into two. So we have the integer. So when they say something is integer, what does it mean? It means whole number, right? That is any number between 0 to 9, right? So that's what we call integer. So in SQL we replace it with what? We replace it with int. That's int. So meaning integer, right? So it refers to as 0 to 9. But if it is decimal number, we refer to as decimal also. Decimal. So that's 0 points. No, or any number after the decimal point. That's what we call the decimal. In other use cases, in other analytics we call it the float. But in this case, we are calling it the decimal. Now let's just start. Since you already understood this, so let's just continue this one. Let's continue. So we have one thing we call keywords. So if you actually look at what I've been typing, right, you will see some things that are written in blue, right? They are written in blue, while some are written in black. So that should be the first question, that why are some written in blue text? Why are some written in black text? So we call something keywords. Keywords. So when you say keywords, they are already pre-coded to do a function for us. Right? That's the meaning of keywords. So now if I say wait, if I type something like wait, you see it should be in blue. That means whenever I call this wait means do something for me. That's basically in English language. Wait means make something, right? So that's great. So we have quite a number of keywords. So we have something like and, or, where, select. So when you call all of these things and you see them in blue, that means there is a function. In SQL, it has already been um, coded to mean something, right? This where means I think we still explain what all these keywords are. But what I'm trying to say is that when you see anything written in blue, it is a pre-coded word, and it is a keyword. It is referred to as keyword, right? So we have quite a number of them. We have form, we have select form, we have limit, we have case, we have when. Now let's try something like shitu. Let's use shitu is let's use shitu is pre-coded. So you can see shitu is in black text. And see, that means if I call shitu does not mean anything. It has not been um recorded in SQL. So it does not mean anything. So that's why SQL is not referred to as keyword. Now another thing is, if you want to look professional, you want to look like you are a professional, you are a data analyst, a professional data analyst, right? So whenever you see anything written in keyword and anything written in plain text, so it is advisable that you write them in capital letter words, right? Not like SQL differentiate between SQL is not case sensitive, right? But you want to write them in capital word just to show that you are a professional. So it doesn't mean if you do not write it in capital word, you are not a professional, you get a wrong answer. No, it doesn't mean. But it's like a conventional practice. It is like a traditional practice among the professional to use capital letters to represent the keywords. So you understand? So whenever you want to write the code, so if you look just exactly like this, can you see when I'm writing my keywords, you can see they are in capital letters. Why other that are not in that are not keywords, they are written in small letters, right? Or they are written in sentence case. So this just makes it look like, oh, you are a professional, you're a confirmed professional, basically. So that's the advice I'm trying to do. So now, if you look at something, this is where we start. That you can see something like a cancellation time here. It is telling me that in this 960, this particular thing I've written here, data type equals to text or numerical, right? It is wrong. The code is wrong. Actually, I am not trying to write a code. I'm just explaining. So when you are trying to explain and you're not writing a code, you should write it as a comment. So I want to tell SK that okay, this particular line it is not a code but a comment. So how do I do that? So it is either I do something like this. hashtag. When I start it with hashtag, now notice something before I start with hashtag. This thing is color black. The first one is color black. Text is with keyword. The numerical also numerical is with is in color black. So if I add hashtag to it, then I add my space. Can you see everything is now commented and the cancellation sign move to the next line. So it means that this particular line is now a comment and SQL recognizes it as a comment, right? So it's not there's no cancellation sign here. But now I have quite a number of them. So if I correct this one, I want to correct this one, I want to correct this one. What if I have all these particular things, maybe this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this particular six, I want to comment them out. So I don't want to add hashtag in front of everything. What can I do? So because this one is a multi-line comment. So you can do something like the left slash, then start with hashtag. Can you see it? Blew everything out. Then you can just end it here because I'm done with my comments here. So just start with hashtag, asterisk, then end it with comma. Can you see? Now I can collapse this one. Can you see? I can collapse it here with this negative sign. Please, can you all see? Can you be glad at energy? You can see my screen very well. Let me improve it. If you can see my screen, can you guitar with an emoji? Okay. And if you want to also understand it too, this step, can you guitar with an emoji? Okay, I think I'll call names. Mr. Gilman. So do you understand it too, this step? Everything we've done in this class, do you understand? Okay. Miss Zakaria, do you understand it? Miss Latifa, are you there? Mr. Lawal, okay. Miss Amaro, okay, fine. Now let's just move on.
So you
Um,
called me.
yes. Yeah, I did. I was trying to ask if you understand what I was teaching also in this way.
Yeah, I do, but then like I find it hard to see your screen. I can barely. I don't know. But I'm just keeping up sha with what you're saying.
You can't see my screen. Is that a general problem, please?
I think it's a glitch from my side. I don't know what's going on. I can't see anything.
If you can see my screen, can you try to emoji? So I know it's not a general problem. Okay. I think it's not a general problem. Okay. Okay. So we have our keywords there. So now, okay. Who have your friends been like? Okay. Now let's continue. Um. Okay. Let me open my Excel so we understand better. Okay. Um, okay. So let me just do this one. Because I actually still need. Okay. So let's say do just a simulation of a table, right? We have our country as the column header, population as the column header, organization as the column header, gender as the column header. So under our country, we have our Mexico, we have Nigeria. We have this under our population, we have Tesla and Techno under our population, then gender. In America, we have up to 5 gender. In Nigeria, we only have 2 approved gender. So that's just a table. So the first thing I'm actually supposed to do is go to my file, go to my save as, right? Then let's say I'm trying to save this on my desktop. And I choose my desktop. Now this is an important thing. I'm choosing my desktop to to write it, to save it. So let's just choose my desktop. Yeah. So now let's say I want to name it. I can name it anything. So instead of country info, let's name it country. Let's just name it country. So let's just say country, then click on save. Now the first thing is I went to my file, then I clicked on where to save the particular file, which is my desktop. So if I actually look at my desktop here now, so I can see the file here, the country. So I can see because I picked my desktop, so I can see the file on my desktop. Then I also named it the name of the file. So basically that's how we create our own SQL. We want to create a table also. So that's the thing we will do. So we do something like create. Why what okay. The first thing you need to do before you can create a table is you have to tell them where are you storing this particular table. So they call something create database. We all know what database mean now. So database is what rows and columns. So we want to call it create what database. So in this case, what's the database? That is where do you want to store your Excel? Um, where do you want to store your table? So I want to say create database sheeting, right? So whenever you are done with any query in Excel, I'm sorry, how do I put it in Excel? In SQL, you must end it with a semicolon. So when I end it with a semicolon, now I can run this particular line of code in three ways. One, I can run it with this one. I can just click on this one. It will run. I can click on this one. It will also run. Then I can use my own keyboard shortcut also by clicking on Control and Enter at the same time. Let me just start with the shortcut then. Control Enter. Can you see it is running? So it is telling me that two database has been created. Then if I actually go back to my displays, because these are my database here, these are the database I have in this particular data here, so I can just collapse it here. So if I refresh, there is no sheet here now. If I refresh, so I can see something like sheet has been created. Now you can see because you have uh, this particular thing is in bolder text. Sheet is not in bolder text, and I actually want to save my file in sheet. So there are two ways to go about it. The first way is double click. Once I double click on it, that means okay, this anything I write now will be saved under sheet use, right? But let's say it is still here. So let's say my database function uses is the country. So I want to change it to sheet and I don't want to double tap, right? You can just write something like use. Like notice when I'm writing my own, I use capital case. I was actually expecting someone to call my attention that you're using a small a sentence case and no one called my attention. That's fine. So what I'm trying to show is that um, by using a small capital a sentence case um sentence case is still working fine, but it does not show that I'm a professional, right? So I want to say let's just lay down because I want to use this particular sheet and I want to save my file under this particular sheet, right? So if you want to save your file, I will not tell you that save it on my desktop. You can just save it on that document. But I want to save my file on that sheet now. So you can just see something like use sheet. Just use sheet. Then because you are done with that line of code, you can end it with semicolon. So you can just run it. So I use my shortcut and keyboard shortcut the other time. And let's use the first one here. So it is saying that country info already exists. So let me just highlight this one. I think it is. So let me run this one again. It is saying that it is running now. So I think I need to highlight this one before I can use this particular button. Okay. So you can see Shitu is now in bolder text now. So that means anything I write after this particular line 17, all the information will be stored under the Shitu's database. Do you get that? Please can you reply with an emoji? Okay, good. Now let's move on. So now the next thing is you want to create a table, right? So what's the name of my table? So now, remember the name of this table is what? Company. That's the name of the file, right? So let's say create country also. I'm sorry. What are we trying to create? Table. Sorry. Remember when I said create also, I said database. I expect and I specified what I wanted to create. So in this case, I'm actually supposed to specify that I'm supposed to create I'm creating a table. So notice something here. You can see you have a cancellation line sign here showing that this particular line is not correct. So because table country is not represented, is not recognized. They've actually over my mouse there, you can see something like table country is not valid at this position, right? So it's because I wrote table country. So once I just say table, so you already know, and you can see the cancellation sign leaves the place. So now create table. Sorry. Okay. So now we are trying to create table. So now under our table, now we are creating a table. Under our table, what are the columns header that we have? We have all these 4 columns header. So let me just copy it. It will be faster for me. Things will be faster for me. Right. So we have control view. So let me just give them in different line. Let me just add that to this one. So all this I'm doing is just that so I can look like a professional, right? So let me just add control. So who can tell me why is that organization in blue text? Because organization is a keyword and we don't want to use keyword here because we are just trying to create a table a column header. So I can change this one from Z to S. So you can see it is now in black. So we are trying to create this table. Now under our country, now look at something. This is why it is technical. Under our country, what do we have there? We have America, we have Nigeria, right? So if you look at our MySQL, under this data type here, what data type do you think America and Nigeria falls under? Obviously, to be what? VACA, right? Because it is a variable character. Now, because it is a column, if let me just say VACA, right? Because it is a column, right? You don't know how many words will be there, but I'm expecting that no country will be more than 20 letters words. So I can just write 20. Now, this is not a fixed number. You can write 50. You can write 21. You can just write anything, but I know no matter the country, um, whichever country will be under this particular column will not have more than 21 letters, which is why I'm having their back at 21. So I have to okay, let's just continue. Now let's look at this population. Under my population, I have something like 400,000 and 320,000. Let me just copy it. No. So I have 400,000 and 370,000. Those are all number. So what do you think will do? Will be the text, will be the data type, it will be what? Int. Because they are what? Integer. As I explained earlier that any number between 0 to 9 will be called what? Integer. Right? So organization, let's look at our organization. We have Tesla and Techno. Those are English words. So we expect it to be what? Backup. So organization. So I expect it to be, and I expect no organization to have more than 40 letters. You can just write anything. So gender, looking at this gender, I want to know how many genders are approved there. So we have 5 and 2, and these are all numbers also. So this one will be what? They will be what? Int, right? So because this is a country column header, so you can see this cancellation sign is here. This is a column header, so you can just add comma here. So you can see this moving down. So because you have not added comma. Now let's add comma here. So because this is the last column, we don't want to add column out there. So remember we opened a bracket here. So just come down, close it. So whenever you are done with a code, what do? You end it with what? With the same column. So you can just run this one. You can highlight this one now. Let's run it here. Let's run with this one. And you see, it's showing something like create a stable. zero rows affected. Obviously, it will be zero rows because all we have created is what is the column header. All we have created is a column header. So that's why it is writing um um zero rows affected, right? So now don't worry, you still look at it one more time before we call it away. So that's it. Now how do we now look at what we have created? So you see you write something like select star. Don't worry, you understand soon from function. So let's run this particular line of code. So can you see what we have created? So we have country, population, organization, and gender, which was what this particular lines meant, right? So we can see select star. This star means that select everything from this table. What's the name of my table? The name of my table is what? Country. That's what I wrote. So I'm saying that select everything. These are everything. Right? These things here, they are everything. So in case you don't want to see everything, you can just write, okay, I want to see only country. You can just say select country, right? So control enter. So can you see only country is showing? But because I want to see everything, so let's say you want to see country and population also. You can just list out the stuff you are interested in. Can you see I'm seeing country and population? But because I actually want to see all the columns there, which is why I'm using the asterisk. Control enter, right? Can you see country, population, organization, and gender? So that's why I said select everything from what is the name of the table I created. The name of the table I created is what is country. So that's why I said continue. So see, do you still understand that? Now let's just move on. Actually, I know it's a lot, but let me explain using the one I created yesterday. So it will be faster. I'm trying to restart this. Now let's look at, I think by now we should be able to understand what we are trying to do here. So now we are trying to create a table here. So the name of the table is create country information. So we did country and we said what is the data type of we are expecting in that country. We are expecting a text data type. So that is what packer 20, right? That is I'm expecting that each country in this particular column should not have more than 20 letters words, right? So we did something like population integer. So what are we expecting? We are expecting whole number as our population because we are expecting a round figure, something like 355,513. That's a round figure. You cannot have something like 80,513.25. Who had the 0.25? It's not just adding up. So we have our organization. Our organization is vast and I'm expecting them not to have more than 30 letters word. So then there also is integer. So when we create a table like this, so let me just run this one. So if I run this one now, so it is showing that a table columns have been created. To actually see what I've created, I'll just say select everything from what's the name of the table, country info. So I can just run this one. Let me select it and just run it using this one. So can you see we have country, population, organization, and gender. So I think I've also explained how to create a database and how to use the database here. So now when we are creating another table, this is another instance of creating a table. So we want to create, what are we trying to create? We are trying to create a table. So the name of the table is what? Is continent, right? So in this particular, what are the column header? We have country, population, average life, and expectancy. So under our country, I'm expecting that no matter what country will be there, so they should not have more than 20 letters words, right? So so that's why I wrote backup 20. Yeah. Population, they should be in integer, should be in around with the whole numbers. So we have average life expectancy. So I'm expecting how many years will they live for? So I'm expecting like maybe like 67 years, 47 years, whatever. So we also have gender. So we have VACA here. So we are expecting the gender here should be something like female or male because it's VACA, it's text. So let's run this one. So now we have three table created, right? We have we have so let me refresh. So you can see under our tables here, under my city database, under my table here, I can just look at it. So I've created a pivot table. And you see, you have continent, you have country, you have continent. So, because I run it again. So let's continue. So to actually see what you have created there, so you can just do something like this. Then run it. So you can see countries, population, average life expectancy. Then we have our agenda, right? So now, now that we are done with the column header, so how do we now increase this value into our table? So that is what we are trying to do. So I just explain using this one. So the first thing we want to do is that the first thing we want to do is we want to because SQL is just like you are writing in English language, right? So what are you trying to do? You are trying to insert values into a table. So that's why you are starting with insert into. Why are you inserting into? You are inserting into a table. What's the name of this table? Now let's take country. Remember, we have our country, the one I created in this lab. Let me just copy it so it will not consistent. So this is where we started, right? The name of our table is what country. This is the one I created in the class. And let me just copy it here. So I want to insert into my country and just say this table named country, right? So what are we inserting into that table? We are inserting values. What are the values? Looking at this, maybe I'll just do it in our font so it will not look like interesting. Now let me just explain how it looks like. So look at this America, right? So America is a text data. Remember when you are writing formula in Excel, anything that is text data type, we surrounded it with quotation mark, right? So America is a text data type. So you want to surround it with what do you call it? Quotation mark. So this is America, right? So you have to add a comma, right? So 40,000 is the numerical data type. You don't need to surround it with a comma, right? So with a quotation mark. Sorry, Tesla is a text data. So you want to surround it with a quotation mark, then comma, then your five. Do you need to surround your five with a quotation mark? No, because it's just five. It is a number. So um, so you do the same for this one, okay? So comma. Oh, sorry. I'm not supposed to round this one in number. So let's take comma. Take no, round it in number. So 10 So now because this is the first line of code, and you can also see a cancellation sign. This cancellation sign is saying that okay, something is wrong with this particular line of code you are writing. So this is my first line of code. I end it with what? It's a comma because I'm not done. It's like saying when you are writing in English, when you are writing an essay, you cannot have full stop where you are supposed to add the comma. So you have to add the comma here. So this particular semicolon is just like a full stop. I'm not supposed to add it here because I have four lines with rows now. So I'm actually supposed to add a comma here. So add a comma here. Can you see the cancellation sign has moved on because there's nothing here. There's no punctuation time here. So you want to add a comma here also. Then because this is the last one, you want to add a full stop. What's the full stop of SQL? That's semicolon. So you want to add a semicolon here. Can you see the this cancellation will now have any effect. So if I should highlight everything here. Okay, there's still a cancellation sign here. This is telling me that something is wrong. So looking at it here, techno between techno and true, there's actually supposed to be a comma there. Now let me write the comma. And you see the cancellation sign left. So that means this cancellation sign is actually a telling tale to know if what you're writing is correct or it's wrong. Right. So let me just highlight this. I mean, I did not just highlight it, just click on anywhere. Just click on this one. Let's click on this one. So, for instance, it is showing that in certain to country, you can see four rows affected. So these are four rows of data. So to actually see what we have done, so what do? We just do something like this. Let me just copy it. There's no time. Control V. So that it selects everything from country. So now let's run it. So to run this one, you can just click on instead of highlighting, you can highlight You can just click and you can just click anywhere in this in the code. Just click on this one. So can you see? Let me imagine. So you can actually see what I've done. So you have America, Nigeria. Because I repeated it, so that's why you have this thing white. So you can see America, Nigeria, America, Nigeria. The same thing. Can you see? And that's how to actually include my values into my table. So do you understand that? If you understand that, can you write an image? Okay, so that's where we draw the curtain for tonight's class. So because there are actually these are a lot of new stuff that we are seeing today. So one thing I will be doing is that please Mr. Vilon, I will give you this task to remind me latest tomorrow because before the next class, that's on Friday, I'll be dropping two recorded class. One, I will because we only have one more class left, and there's a probability that we need to add this one more class. So I'll be dropping the last recorded class on Power BI. Then I'll be dropping another recorded class on SQL. I'll send it to the group. Please just ask me that when the link I promised you. Maybe in my DM or maybe on the class group, whichever one. It's fine. It's fine by me. So the recorded class for the SQL will be a continuation on where we stopped, right? So yeah, no problem. So thank you guys for joining. See you next class. Bye. Assalamu alaikum.
Best. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wa alaikum
Well,
salam.